The millionaire had never noticed a woman until one night she made him beg for her attention. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from today. In the middle of a big, busy city, there was a tall building made of glass and shiny steel. It was called Barrett Tech, and everyone who passed by looked at it. Just like the building, the man who owned it, Colin Barrett, was hard to miss. Colin was only 34 years old, but people already knew him well. He was the boss, and everyone at the company respected him, but also felt a little scared. Some people whispered that it felt colder when he walked into a room. On this morning, Lena Foster was sitting at her desk outside Colin's office. She was his secretary. As soon as she heard the sound of his shiny leather shoes clicking on the floor, her fingers stopped over her keyboard. Other workers quickly sat up straight and pretended to work harder. Colin walked in, tall and serious, wearing a perfect dark gray suit. His face looked sharp, with gray eyes that didn't show feelings. A small line between his eyebrows made him look like he was always thinking hard or upset. He walked past everyone, and people stopped talking right away. "Good morning, Mr. Barrett," Lena said. Her voice was calm, but her heart was beating fast. He only gave a tiny nod before going into his office. The only person who remembered Colin as a different man was Jerry Matthews, his childhood friend. Jerry was also the company's lawyer. When they had lunch in Colin's private dining room, Jerry often talked about their school days, when Colin used to smile and joke more. "You've become exactly what your father wanted," Jerry once told him. But it didn't sound like a compliment. 2 years ago, Colin's mother tried to set him up with the perfect girl, Jessica Montgomery. She came from a rich family just like them. Jessica was smart and polite. Colin treated the relationship like a business deal. "I gave her everything," Colin told Jerry one day. "Houses, cars, vacations." Jerry looked at him and said, "Everything except yourself." Jessica left Colin with a letter. In her neat handwriting, she said what Colin already knew deep inside. "You gave me the world, Colin, but never your time or your heart." The letter was still in his desk drawer, with other sad memories. While Colin had trouble with love, Lena had her own problems. Her mom was in the hospital, and the family didn't have much money. Lena's job paid well, but it took all her time. She missed birthdays, weddings, and special moments with her family. Her dad would call and say, "I understand you're busy, sweetheart," but she could hear the sadness in his voice. "But your sister's wedding, that was important." Lena would cry on her couch after those calls. Her roommate and best friend, Evelyn, would sit beside her and listen quietly. Lena worked hard to pay the hospital bills, but it still hurt to miss those important family times. Things at Barrett Tech were even more stressful now. Colin was trying to buy a company called Delaney Energies. Its boss, Mr. Thomas Delaney, was 62 years old and liked doing things the old-fashioned way. He believed in trust, kindness, and family more than just money. Colin wanted this deal more than anything. If he could buy Delaney Energies, it would show everyone, including his father, that he was the best. Every morning meeting started with updates about Delaney Energies. Colin got angrier each day if things didn't go fast enough. One morning, Lena overheard Colin talking to Jerry about a big party, the Delaney Gala. "Thomas Delaney likes family men," Jerry explained. "He didn't make deals with men who showed up without wedding rings." Colin sighed. "So if I show up alone to his wife's birthday party, that would be bad?" "Exactly," Jerry said. "The Delaneys believe that good partners in life make good partners in business." That evening, just as Lena was about to go home, the intercom buzzed. Colin's voice came through, cool and serious. "Miss Foster, I need to speak with you before you leave." Lena's heart sank. Her mom was finally coming home from the hospital this weekend. She had promised, truly promised, to be there. But when she stepped into Colin's office, she could already feel her promise slipping away. The sun was going down outside. Colin stood by the big window. He didn't turn around when he spoke. The Delaney Gala is this Saturday. You'll go with me. It wasn't a question. It was an order. Mr. Barrett, Lena began, but Colin turned to her with a hard look. The car will pick you up at 7. Wear black. It's a masked event. Lena couldn't move. She thought of her mom's happy face and her dad's disappointed one. But she knew Colin wouldn't care. He once fired someone for missing a meeting to go to his child's graduation. Feelings didn't matter in Colin Barrett's world. That night, in the small apartment she shared with Evelyn, Lena cried. I can't miss Mom's homecoming, she sobbed. Dad will never forgive me, but if I don't go to the gala... Evelyn hugged her. She understood. Lena was stuck between her family and her job, and it hurt. What neither of them knew was that this moment would change everything. It would break Colin's cold wall and change many lives. But for now, Lena only saw a hard choice. People knew the story of Colin Barrett, the serious boss who couldn't make love last with Jessica. But no one knew that inside, he was a man who didn't know how to balance work and love. He was good at success, but not at happiness. That night, in his fancy apartment, Colin looked out over the city. Even he didn't know that everything was about to change, all because of a masked party and a woman who would teach him that love can't be ordered or bought. It must be earned with kindness and honesty. The city lights sparkled like stars through the window. Back in the apartment, Lena walked back and forth, thinking hard. Her reflection showed up again and again in the glass. Evelyn sat on the old couch, watching her best friend wear a path in the carpet. Empty Chinese food boxes sat on the table. I can't believe this is happening, Lena said, her voice shaky. 8 months. Mom has been in the hospital 8 months, and the one day I promised I'd be there. She dropped onto the couch beside Evelyn. Tell him you can't go. Simple, Evelyn said. Lena gave a short laugh. Simple? Have you met Colin Barrett? He made a man cry just because there was a mistake in a report. She showed Evelyn her phone. A message from Colin had come an hour after he gave the order. The dress will be delivered tomorrow. Black, floor length, no exceptions. Wow, Evelyn said. Who does he think he is, telling you what to wear? Lena sighed. He's the man who signs my paychecks, the paychecks that pay for Mom's hospital bills. She took a sip of her tea. It was cold now. Dad called earlier. They're planning a little welcome party. Sarah's flying in from Chicago. Even Tommy's taking a break from med school. Her voice cracked. The whole family will be there. Except me. Again. She remembered other missed moments. Her dad's birthday dinner, her sister's wedding, hospital visits that had to be quick video calls. Your family knows you're working hard to help them, Evelyn said gently. Do they? Lena asked, tears in her eyes. Because all I see in Dad's eyes is disappointment. And Mom, I know she's hurt. She smiles, but I can tell. Money isn't everything, Evelyn. They need me, not just the money. A quiet silence filled the room. It was the kind of silence that only two best friends could share. Evelyn and Lena had been friends since high school. Evelyn was quiet and smart. Lena's life had changed. She used to be the bold and brave ones, but now her best friend Evelyn was the one who spoke up more, especially since she became a lawyer. Lena, on the other hand, had learned to stay quiet and calm under her boss Colin's strict rules. You know what's funny? Lena suddenly said, wiping tears from her eyes. It's a masked party. Colin won't even know who's with him. He just wants someone to stand next to him and look nice for the cameras and the Delaney family. Something changed in the air after Lena said that. Evelyn sat up straighter. Her smart lawyer brain was thinking hard. A masked party? Evelyn asked. Yes, Lena nodded. Some fancy theme Mrs. Delaney wanted. Everything black. Everyone's faces will be covered. She waved her hand. Probably so the rich people can pretend to be mysterious for one night. Evelyn stood up and walked to their shared closet. She pulled out a simple blue dress that belonged to Lena. They often borrowed clothes from each other. That young lawyer thought I was you, until I started talking. Lena followed Evelyn's thoughts. Her eyes got big. No, 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 that's a crazy idea, Lena said. Is it? Evelyn turned around and looked at her. We're the same height, same shape, our skin looks alike. If I wear a mask. She didn't finish the sentence. You want to pretend to be me at the party? Lena said loudly. With Colin Barrett, the man who doesn't even really look at you, he probably doesn't even know the color of your eyes. You said it yourself, Evelyn said. He just wants someone who looks nice and plays the part. Lena stood up and started walking around the room. This is crazy. What if he finds out? How would he know? Evelyn said. It's a masked party. Everyone will be trying to look mysterious and fancy. She followed Lena, and you need to be with your family. The idea was wild, but it started to make sense. They spent the next hour talking about what could go wrong, what they needed to do, and how to make it work. Lena started remembering little things about Colin. He liked his coffee black with no sugar. He looked at his phone every 20 minutes during events. He liked to stand a little away from crowds. The next day, a dress arrived. It was beautiful, made of black silk with tiny shiny beads. It came with a matching black mask that would cover the top half of the face. When Evelyn put it on, even Lena gasped. It fits you perfectly, Lena whispered, walking around Evelyn. Even better than it would fit me. The next few days flew by. Evelyn worked hard to learn everything about Colin's work, his projects, the Delaney deal, and what Lena usually did at events. Lena helped Evelyn act like her, how to walk, how to answer Colin's short commands, how to stay quiet but still look good. He never makes small talk, Lena explained, watching Evelyn walk in the heels that came with the dress. If he talks to you, it's to tell you something or remind you of something important. Sounds like fun, Evelyn muttered, trying to walk smoothly like Lena had learned over the years. The night before the party, they sat together in the living room going over everything one last time. Lena's flight was booked for the next morning. She would reach home just in time to see her mom come back. Remember, Lena said, holding Evelyn's hands, he always stands on the left side in photos. He drinks exactly 2 glasses of scotch, no more, no less, and if anyone asks about work, I let him talk or keep it vague, Evelyn finished. I've got this. Go be with your family. The morning of the big party was cool and clear. Lena left early, her heart feeling both thankful and nervous. As her plane took off, Evelyn began to get ready. After hours of getting dressed and preparing, Evelyn was ready. She looked amazing in the black dress and mask. It felt strange and exciting. Just as Lena said, the text came. Car arriving in 20 minutes. Evelyn looked in the mirror one last time. She saw both herself and Lena in her reflection. The plan was both smart and scary. But she couldn't turn back now. She stepped into the shiny black car that would take her to Colin's mansion. Her heart beat fast. She was going to spend the evening pretending to be someone else, beside one of the most serious men in the business world. But she remembered why she was doing it. Lena's tears, and how important it was for her to be with her family. Across the city, Lena's family was getting ready to welcome her mom home. They didn't know about the big plan that helped Lena be with them. Back in the city, Colin stood in his fancy apartment fixing his bow tie. His black mask sat on the table, waiting. He was thinking about the Delaneys and the big deal that could change everything, not about the woman who would be by his side that night. That night would change many lives, but no one knew it yet. As Evelyn sat in the car, her heart beat hard under the black dress. The mask, though light, felt heavy with secrets. Colin got into the car and didn't look at her much, just like Lena had said. His eyes were on his tablet. The Delaneys like tradition, Colin said, still looking at his screen. When we get there, stay close but not clingy. Look classy, not needy. His voice was sharp, like he was giving a work order. Of course, Mr. Barrett, Evelyn said softly, just like Lena would. She turned to look at his face. Even in the dim car light, she saw what Lena meant. He was handsome, but cold, like a statue made of stone. The Delaney mansion looked like a glowing castle. Pretty lights sparkled in the trees. People in black clothes and masks moved like shadows. Camera flashes popped as they pulled up. Colin got out first, very proper. He held out his hand, not to be kind, but to look good for the cameras. As Evelyn stepped out, the photographers took many pictures. Colin put his hand gently on her back and led her inside. "Smile," he whispered, though he didn't smile much himself. Inside, the mansion glowed with gold and black decorations. Big chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Classical music played as important people talked politely in their masks. "I need to find Thomas Delaney," Colin said, looking around. "Stay visible but busy. We need to look." "Compatible," Evelyn said, finishing his sentence with a small smile. He looked at her quickly, surprised. Before he could say more, Martha Delaney, the party's host, walked in. She wore a black lace dress and a mask with shiny pearls. She looked very fancy. Colin straightened up, ready to go talk to her, but Martha had already noticed Evelyn. Maybe it was Evelyn's lawyer training, but she saw a chance. "Mrs. Delaney," Evelyn called kindly. "That mask is beautiful. The pearls shine so nicely." Martha smiled, happy someone noticed. "How sweet of you. Most people just try to guess who everyone is." Evelyn walked forward, gently pulling Colin with her. "The mystery is fun, isn't it? But picking the perfect mask for your own party must have been hard." Martha laughed, a happy sound. "Oh, my husband thought I was silly picking it for weeks." "Not silly at all," Evelyn said. "The right mask, just like the right partner, can make the night perfect." Colin's hand tightened a little on her waist, but Evelyn kept talking calmly. "Speaking of partners," she said, "Mr. Barrett was just saying how honored we are to be at your lovely party." Martha looked at Colin, who jumped into the conversation smoothly. But she kept glancing back at Evelyn, curious about this mysterious woman. As the night went on, Evelyn found herself being liked by many. She made smart jokes, talked about art, and even made the serious Thomas Delaney laugh. Colin watched, surprised. He thought his date would be quiet, but she was getting attention while still acting elegant. When Mr. Thomas Delaney finally talked to Colin about the big deal, Colin realized it wasn't really because of the business. It was mostly because Thomas's wife really liked that sweet young lady, Evelyn, that you had brought. The music at the party changed. It became slow and soft. Couples started dancing. Everyone wore fancy masks, so it felt magical and full of secrets. Colin gently took Evelyn's hand and led her to the dance floor. His hand fit perfectly around her waist as they moved with the music. "You've surprised me," Colin said in a soft voice that sounded different. Evelyn smiled a little. "I didn't think you'd like someone who could think for themselves," she teased. Colin's steps stopped just a little. He didn't expect her to say that. She was clever and could see through things. They danced quietly for a while. The music felt like soft silk wrapping around them. Evelyn felt Colin's hand hold her a little tighter. She felt his breath pause when she looked up at him. "Maybe," she whispered, "you've been playing the wrong game all along." The evening felt like a lovely dream. When it was time to leave, Mrs. Martha Delaney gave Evelyn a big hug and whispered, "You must come have tea next week, dear. Both of you." In the car on the way back to Evelyn's apartment, Colin was very quiet. He didn't even look at his tablet. When they got to her building, he finally spoke. "Thank you for tonight, and tell Miss Foster to come to my office first thing Monday morning," he said. His voice was calm, but something else was hiding inside it. Maybe he was amused. Maybe he liked how things turned out. Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. He knew. He had known the truth all along. But he let the pretend game go on. As she got out of the car, she looked at the window and saw his face. He had a tiny smile. The car drove away, leaving Evelyn standing in the cool night air. Her phone buzzed with messages from her best friend Lena. But for a moment she didn't move. She just stood there remembering how Colin held her, how he looked at her all night, how his serious face had softened. Something had changed, not just for Colin or Lena, but for everyone. As Evelyn walked into her building, she wondered what Monday would bring, and why Colin Barrett's little smile made her heart beat a little faster. On Monday morning, the sun shone through the big glass windows at Barrett Tech. The shadows on the marble floor were long and pretty. Lena sat at her desk, tapping nervously on her keyboard. She had come to work 1 hour early. Her stomach felt weird from nerves. She couldn't stop thinking about what would happen. The elevator dinged, and Colin's footsteps echoed in the quiet office. Lena sat up straight. Her heart was beating fast. He walked past her without looking and went straight into his office. Then his voice came through the intercom. "Come in, Miss Foster." Colin stood by the window with his back to her, his hands behind his back. The sunlight made his tall figure look even taller. Lena walked in and shut the door softly. "You tried to trick me," he said quietly. He didn't sound angry. He sounded different. Lena didn't know what that feeling was. "Mr. Barrett, I can explain," she began, but the words she practiced disappeared. "What's her name?" he asked, finally turning around. "I'm sorry?" Lena blinked. "Your friend," he said, now sitting behind his desk. "The one who went to the party instead of you. What's her name?" Lena paused. She didn't want to tell at first, but then she said, Evelyn Harper." "Evelyn Harper," Colin repeated softly, like he was tasting the name. "She's a lawyer?" "Yes, sir. She works at Morrison Wright." He nodded slowly. His fingers tapped on his desk, which he almost never did. "You're not fired, Miss Foster," he said after a pause. Lena let out a big breath she didn't know she was holding. "Your work has been excellent, and I know I put you in a hard spot." Lena was shocked. Colin Barrett, who never said sorry, was saying maybe he was wrong. She felt like she was in a dream. "Thank you, Mr. Barrett," she said. "That will be all," he said, turning back to his computer. But as she reached the door, he added, "And Miss Foster, I hope your mother is doing well." The rest of the week felt strange. Colin wasn't acting like his usual self. He seemed distracted. He would stare out the window for a long time. He didn't seem as focused as usual. Twice, Lena saw him looking at Morrison Wright's website. On Thursday evening, as Lena got ready to leave, Colin's mother called him. Lena could hear him through the half-open door. "No, Mother, I don't need you to set me up with Isabel," he said. "Yes, I remember her from high school. No, I'm not mad about the chemistry lab thing anymore." There was a long pause. "Yes, I remember the family weekend. It's in 3 weeks. No, I won't come alone. Yes, I'll bring someone. I promise." The next morning, Colin called Lena into his office again. He was standing by the window like usual, but he looked more tense. "I need a date for the family weekend," he said. "It's a tradition. 3 days at our estate in the Hamptons." Lena nodded and picked up her tablet to help plan. "I want you to ask Miss Harper if she's available." Lena dropped her tablet. "I'm sorry, what?" "Evelyn Harper," he said clearly. "Tell her I'll pay her for her time." That evening, Lena told Evelyn the whole thing while they were relaxing at home. Evelyn was in comfy clothes with case files all around her. "He wants to pay me to be his date?" Evelyn raised her eyebrows. "Like an escort?" "Well, not exactly." Lena looked embarrassed. Evelyn closed her files and smiled. "Tell him no." "What?" "Tell him," Evelyn said with a small smile, "that if he wants me to be his date, he needs to ask me properly." "You want Colin Barrett, the guy who scares CEOs, to ask you out like a regular person?" "Exactly." In the next few days, Lena tried to dodge Colin's curious looks. He seemed very puzzled. She saw him pacing around, calling fancy stores, jewelers, florists. One day, a big delivery came to Morrison Wright, a huge cart full of red roses, a fancy box from Cartier, and a card that said, "Will you be my date?" with Colin's phone number. Evelyn took one look and sent it all back. When Colin found out, he was shocked. He even laughed a little, but it wasn't a funny laugh. "What does she mean, no?" he asked Lena. "Did you tell her about the money?" "She doesn't care about money, Mr. Barrett," Lena said gently. "She cares about honesty." Colin stood by the window again, hands in his pockets. He looked out at the city and thought hard. For once, he didn't know what to do. Women usually wanted his money or his status, but Evelyn, she surprised him, twice now. Finally, Colin went to Morrison Wright. The receptionist said Evelyn was busy in a meeting. So Colin, rich, powerful Colin, sat in the waiting area like everyone else. For almost an hour. When Evelyn came out, she saw him waiting. He looked a little different, less cold, more human. "Would you like to have dinner with me?" he asked. No big words, no flowers, just a question. Evelyn looked at him. He looked nervous. "Yes," she said. "I would like that." Colin smiled, a small, real smile. Maybe the first one in years. When he left, he walked lighter than usual. Evelyn watched him go and thought, sometimes the most powerful lessons come in simple ways. That evening, Colin sat in his big office and did something strange. He thought about feelings. Evelyn's Martha at the party. How she made Martha Delaney laugh. How she challenged him. His phone buzzed, his mom again. But for once, he didn't feel annoyed. He actually looked forward to seeing his family, with Evelyn by his side. Not as a helper or a fake date, but as someone special. The next morning at work, everyone noticed something new. The usual cold feeling Colin brought with him was gone. When Mr. Johnson from accounting made mistakes, Colin didn't get mad. He asked questions and helped. Lena smiled at her desk. She had known Evelyn since high school. She watched her friend become a strong, smart lawyer who never changed her values. And now she watched Colin Barrett, who everyone feared, learning something new. That real connections can't be bought. They have to be earned. As she saw Colin get ready for his date with Evelyn, Lena knew something true. Sometimes the best matches don't come from plans or money. They come from surprises that help us see ourselves and others in a brand new way. Colin Barrett didn't change all at once. His big change didn't start with a big loud bang. It started quietly, like a whisper. It didn't start with money or a big business deal. It started when he wore a simple mask at a fancy party. And for the first time ever, he asked for what he really wanted, with no lies and no pretending. The weekend of the Barrett family dinner came faster than Colin had expected. On a cool Friday evening, he stood outside Evelyn's apartment building. Something strange was happening in his chest. Maybe he was nervous or excited. For the first time in years, he drove himself instead of asking his driver. When Evelyn opened the door, everything felt still, like time had stopped. She wore a long, dark blue dress that sparkled like stars. Colin, who was always calm and serious, felt his heart jump. He tried to speak. "You look," he started, then stopped. He didn't want to sound like he was giving a business report. Evelyn smiled. She could tell he was nervous. "Thank you," she said kindly, helping him feel better. "You look very handsome, too." They drove together to the big Barrett family house. The car was mostly quiet, but not in a bad way. They talked a little, and it felt easy. Colin told her stories about his childhood and family, things he had never told anyone before. "My great-grandfather started these family weekends," he said as he drove. He thought success wasn't worth much without family to share it with. Funny, right? I never lived that way. Evelyn looked at him gently. "We all learn at different times," she said kindly. The Barrett estate looked like a dream. Warm light came from every window. The garden looked like it was glowing. When they arrived, Colin held Evelyn's hand. "I should warn you," he said as he gently rubbed her hand with his thumb. "My mom can be a lot." Inside the house, the family waited in the big living room. Colin's mother, Elizabeth Barrett, stood up when they walked in. She saw them holding hands. She saw Colin's soft expression. She saw how close Evelyn stood to him. "Colin, darling," Elizabeth said, hugging her son. Then she turned to Evelyn. "You must be Evelyn. I've heard absolutely nothing about you, which means you must be very special." The evening was planned like a beautiful song, but there were some happy surprises too. Evelyn talked with Colin's dad about new rules in law. Her smart ideas impressed him. She shared recipes with Elizabeth, who loved that Evelyn liked both tradition and new ideas. But the biggest surprise came from Colin's sister, Catherine. She was usually very quiet. She didn't say much during dinner, but she kept watching Evelyn closely. Later, in the library after dinner, Evelyn noticed a special book on the shelf and said something funny. Catherine laughed out loud, something she never did. Catherine smiled. Someone who likes Jane Austen and law? Colin hasn't smiled this much at a family dinner since he was 12. Colin didn't argue. All night, he had been smiling and watching Evelyn. He talked about things that weren't about business or work. He listened to her stories about her family, the court cases she cared about, and her big dreams. "You're different with her," Elizabeth said softly when she got a moment alone with Colin. "You remind me of the boy you used to be before you tried to be perfect." Colin watched Evelyn talking to his dad about fancy old wines. "She doesn't want me to be perfect," he said quietly. "She just wants me to be real." The weekend passed quickly, full of moments that slowly broke Colin's old habits. Evelyn beat him in chess. Her clever moves made him think differently. They walked in the garden, and he shared stories of hiding in the rose bushes as a kid, pretending he was on adventures before he had to grow up too fast. One quiet afternoon, they stood in the library again. Evelyn was looking at family photos on the wall. Colin spoke. "I've never brought anyone here who felt right," he said, standing close. "Even with Jessica, I was just pretending to be the perfect man." Evelyn turned around. Her eyes were kind. "What role are you playing now?" she asked. "None," he said. He realized it was true. "For the first time in my grown-up life, I'm just being me." After that weekend, things started to change at Colin's company. People at work noticed something was different. He still wanted things done well, but now he listened more. He gave people chances to share their ideas. Lena, his assistant, saw the biggest change. He took real lunch breaks. Sometimes he met Evelyn at small cafes. They laughed together and talked like normal people, not just professionals. Colin was learning to enjoy the moment instead of always thinking about work. Their love grew like a river finding its way. They challenged each other in smart ways. They supported each other. They weren't playing games. They were working together like a real team. One night, Evelyn had a hard day and worked late. When she left her office, Colin was waiting outside. He didn't say anything at first. He just took her to a small Italian restaurant. "I remember you said this was your favorite," he told her as they sat down. "The owner's grandma still makes the sauce herself." Evelyn looked surprised. "I told you that a long time ago." "I remember everything you say," Colin said honestly. "You make me care about the little things I used to ignore." Over pasta and wine, they talked about everything. Colin told her his fears, that he might never live up to his father's legacy, that he had used success to hide from real feelings. Evelyn told him about how hard it was to balance dreams and being honest, how she tried to stay strong even when it was easier to give in. "You know," she said, twirling her fork, "the first time I met you, not at the party, but really met you, I thought you were just what everyone said. Cold, scary, only cared about power." "And now?" Colin asked, his heart beat faster. "Now," she said, "I see someone strong in a better way, someone who's learning that real strength is about being real, that being open isn't weak." The candlelight made her eyes sparkle. Colin felt something change inside, like the last piece of a puzzle falling into place. "I've never felt this way before," he said. "With Jessica or anyone. I always acted perfect. But with you, I want to be better. I want to be here. I want to be real." Evelyn held his hand across the table. "I fell for the man behind the mask, Colin. Not the boss, but the real you. The one who shows up. The one who stays. The one learning to let someone in." They shared their first real kiss there in the warm light of the small restaurant. It wasn't fancy. It was sweet and true, just like their love. People at work noticed even more changes in Colin. He was still serious, but now he smiled. He started a mentorship program to help young workers, remembering how someone named Jerry once helped him. He explained his decisions and helped people learn. Lena smiled when she saw all this. Her funny plan to get a weekend off helped something amazing happen. Colin Barrett had become human. 6 months after that dinner, Colin planned at a special night at his penthouse. The city lights twinkled below. He led Evelyn to the balcony. The table had candles and soft music. "I've been thinking," he said, pouring the wine, "about masks, about pretending, about who we really are." Evelyn looked at him. She knew something important was coming. "And what did you decide?" she asked. "That the best things come when we stop pretending," he said. He walked around the table, took her hands, and looked into her eyes. "You saw through all my walls. You didn't want the rich CEO or the Barrett name. You just wanted me to be real." "To be just Colin," she whispered. He nodded. Then he got down on one knee. "And just Colin is asking, will you marry me? Not for business, not for status, but because I love you, truly." The ring wasn't big or showy. It was simple, special, and old, like the books they talked about in the library. Evelyn said yes. Their kiss promised a future full of love and truth. Their engagement was big news, but not because of money or fame. People loved the story because it showed how love could change a person. Even Mr. Johnson from accounting gave a speech at their party. "To the couple who showed us that behind every mask is a real person," he said, "and to Mr. Barrett, who taught us that being a great leader isn't about being scary, it's about being real." Colin held Evelyn's hand and smiled. He had built tall walls and chased money and power, but his best success wasn't any of that. His best success was learning to love and be loved. Their story wasn't about a boss being tamed. It was about two people helping each other grow. About starting from something unexpected and finding something truly special. In the end, it wasn't about pretending. It was about being honest, about being real, about being Colin and Evelyn just as they were, together. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.